for you, what was the point that you decided, I want to be, because I and this is my assumption, I could be wrong, that there was some form of employment. I was doing this for a while, and then I went straight into, like, I decided I'm going to do it for myself. I want to find my own clients, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a great question. Like, when do you know, like, this is something you want to try? Because it's a different lifestyle. It really is. There's a lot of stress that's involved in it, because there's not every other Friday the paycheck isn't deposited into your bank account.
Right.
You have to chase the money a lot of the time. Clients don't pay on time.
Yeah.
It is different. So how do I know that I wanted to do that? I did have multiple full-time jobs. And then one day I got another full-time job. But this full-time job was at a consultancy. And consultancy is based, you're doing contract work, but you are you're full-time employed by a consulting company, and they sell you out by the hour somewhere. So I still got a paycheck. But that opened my eyes to showing up at a client saying, all right, we have a very, here's the constraints of the project. We need to have it done in 2 months, and then 2 or 3 months. And then boom, I was on to the next project. And all of a sudden I realized, wow, I really like that, because what I would find at full-time employment is I'd be really pumped up when I started. I might even be pumped up for the first year, maybe 2 years. And then after that, I would just get really bored. I'm like, this is like not exciting work. I'm kind of bored here. But when I was a consultant at a consulting company, I was on a new project every 2 or 3 months. It was always something fresh. I met so many people. I learned so many new things. Now, I might be the person that was brought in to build a mobile app or a web app. And at that point, I could then build it. And then I would learn something new about maybe the industry. Maybe it was healthcare or real estate. And I would learn something. So I'd be growing, and learning is fun. And so I'd have a lot of fun. And then I'd make a bunch of new friends at this company and go somewhere new. And what I found is it gave me a sense of freedom, like autonomy almost. Like I felt like in control of, and happy, and like always looking forward to what's next. And the point at which I realized maybe I can do this for myself is when I started blogging more about what I was doing. So sharing my knowledge like I've always been doing. And then as I would learn something, I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. Let me just talk about this at the local user group or local meetups or conference. I would do that. And then people would just start approaching me face to face at the conference, maybe on email follow-up, on Twitter. Hey, Donn, we have this exact problem you were talking about at the conference or on your blog post. Is this something you can come help us figure out?
Sure.
And I would, so still consulting in a consulting company, I would go to my consulting lead and say, hey, they need help. And sometimes we'd be able to close the deal. Other times we would not. But that just kept happening more and more and more. And eventually I thought, I'm like, wait, I wonder if these companies would be open to me just working directly with them. And so I had that conversation with one of them, and I threw out a number, like an hourly number. I think at the time was like $90 an hour, which is like when I first started for full time. I was like, oh, here's $90 an hour. And I was scared to death of throwing out this number. And they're like, yeah, totally. When can you start? And I was just, I'm like, immediately I'm like, wow, I underbid myself. Okay. There was no arguing. I was like, okay, well, how long is this contract for? And they're like, oh, we probably need you 3 to 6 months. And then of course, like, you just run the numbers, full time, 3 to 6 months, $90 an hour, do the math. Like, you're like, whoa, that's a lot of money. And then I thought, wow, this is working for myself. This is autonomy. This is freedom. These are the things that I value above anything else. And also, if I want to take off, I'm making great money. If I want to take off a week or two, I can do that. No one tells me I can't. Now, of course, I'm not going to take off time in the middle of a big release. So it was at that moment where I realized this is something that's really interesting to me, and I want to pursue it. And so it was then when I decided to kind of make that leap to go to full-time, freelancing, consulting, contracting. And I want to preface this. You mentioned this early. There is kind of a difference. People see it differently. I'll kind of use those terms synonymously, because one person will say freelancing, but they're actually just doing a contract job. Someone else will say, hey, I'm contracting, which is probably the most appropriate term, actually. Contracting for going from one contract to the next contract. And then someone will say I'm a consultant. And then the consultant has like this weird, I'm just showing up and waving a magic wand, telling you what you should do and shouldn't do and not do anything. I've been hired for all three roles. And I would put them all under the same bucket as contracting. Yet most people, and the reason why I choose freelancing to talk about freelancing is because during my keyword research, what was the most searched term for software professionals, it's freelancing. And what they really are doing is contracting. But to actually get in front of these people, I need to talk about freelancing to teach them about it.